Retro Hangover is supported via Patreon by listeners like you. We would especially like to thank patrons Lyle McCarnes, Tony G, Tom the Superhero, Studstill Smash the Milkman, Lucas from Game Over Hell, Mast Keaton, Ozzy Garcia, JC, Megan Caruso, Rick Firestone, Dave Jackson, Jenny E, Retro Overdrive, Soha, The Emperor, Storm Beagle, Matt aka Stormageddon, Van Fernal and B. Ross from Super Garbage Day, Jared Brayland, Randall Quiggle, Raging Demon, Keith Gasper, The Retro Vixen, Eric Guess, Nomad from the Retro Wildlands Podcast, Ash Event, Alan Bingham, Mike the Rep from Backbreaker Gaming, Ryan Player One, Alt, Gary Heather, Low5 Alex, Omi, Makeshift Money, Sega Boy 7, and Riskel. Your continued engagement and generous donations are deeply appreciated. Welcome to The Flight, a consumable curation of champions and catastrophes that is considerate of your chronometer. I should have liked that, but I'm not sure I did. Shane, I think you should have liked that too.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know, man, but I feel like by all rights should have been my thing, but I'm not feeling it, you know.
Need to be more into it next time. But that is today's theme. We are talking about games that we should have liked, but didn't. Thank you for listening to Retro Hangovers, The Flight, where our patrons, they suggest topics, and they vote on them, and this is one that was picked. And this one was nominated by our editor extraordinaire, Ashton. So, thank you, Ashton. I don't think Ashton ever gets any of these topics.
No, I feel like it's usually, well, like, Keith gets a lot of them.
Keith gets a lot. Tony.
Yeah.
But we're here to give you games that, you know what? When you think about it, I sit down, I think about games that I should have enjoyed, or we should have enjoyed. It just didn't click. Yeah, it's unfortunate. You can't like every game that appeals to you. I'm sure this is going to be an easy list, right, Shane?
You know, I actually thought it would be, because I know there have been multiple occasions over the years where I've said pretty much that exact thing of like, you know, on paper, I should like this game, but I just don't. And then when I went to make the list, I was like, and I remember none of them. But fortunately, some of it came back to me. I had to do some fishing through my Steam backlog. Well, not really the backlog. I have a category in my Steam list that is just like retired. So those are all the games. I put all the games that go to die in there that I know I'm not going to complete. Yeah, but I gave a shot. So that helped a little bit. But you know what? I think you should start us off on this list. So what do you say, Chris? You want to kick us off on games that should have been right up your alley, but you just couldn't vibe with it?
Yeah, let's go.
Number 5.
By the way, if anyone says any of these are hot takes, I mean, that's kind of the definition of this episode. This is pretty much the hot take, another hot take episode, really, when you think about it. Because, like, these are supposed to be games that are objectively good or within our sphere. So, my number 5 is going to be a hot take of sorts. And this one, I didn't not like it, but the more I get away from it, and even, like, I think about when I talked about it, maybe I was trying to as the kids say, glaze it up. This is not going to date this episode. In order to just kind of avoid the criticism of sorts. I don't know. But my number 5 is going to be Final Fantasy IX. I don't know, man. I should like this. And I kind of go into my history about it, and I look at what Final Fantasy IX was supposed to be about. Because I mean, there's a lot of people out there right now that want to levy this criticism that Final Fantasy fans hate every Final Fantasy game before they like it. And I think that's actually more something that you could attribute to Zelda fans, honestly. But it's not completely untrue about Final Fantasy games. And this goes all the way back, I think, to Final Fantasy VII, because I've talked about this on other shows. Me and Shane over there on Cade Call's show, Gaming Memories, where Cade was like, "Oh, my first RPG was Final Fantasy VII. I loved it. Best RPG ever." And it's like, I hated people like you, because it's true. I did. Because it shifted. I felt it shifted Final Fantasy from the high fantasy setting over into the more futuristic sci-fi setting. And that was the debate back then, even though if now looking at it, that's Final Fantasy VI that really shifted the narrative and changed it from more of the gameplay setting into a cinematic universe. Doesn't matter. Final Fantasy IX, well, it does matter, because Final Fantasy IX was supposed to be return to the roots. They heard the criticisms about Final Fantasy 7 and 8 being either sci-fi, futuristic, a little near future, like modern but near future settings, and that was a heavy criticism about why it didn't really feel like a Final Fantasy game, instead of it, I don't know, being a Devil May Cry clone. But Final Fantasy IX was supposed to be a return to the roots of what Final Fantasy was all supposed to be about. It had the high fantasy setting, it had crystals, it had more identifiable classes. This was something that people who like the old series just were genuinely supposed to love. And I just never could 100% get invested in it. And I think that is because, as I have said notably many times in the past, the character designs I just think are I know are not my thing. They're just not my thing. I think they all like they all look like a Jim Henson production, which is fine when I'm watching the Muppets. But when I'm playing Final Fantasy, it doesn't go with me. And there's a lot of things in this game that are to love. There are character dynamics that are great. There are plot elements that are fantastic. But also, I think another thing is when I loved the series so much for what it did in the past, and this game really tries to throw the member berries at you. Like, hey, remember Garland? Remember the Invincible from Final Fantasy 3? Remember all like the Shinra theme from Final Fantasy? There's member berries all over the place here. To me, it felt slightly shallow, even though it was cool for a moment. The totality of things, it just didn't jive. That's not to say I don't appreciate it, and it's not to say I don't like it, but I feel it's rather muted when it should be a game I should be celebrating and really bringing to the forefront. So I do like it, but I don't think I like it enough, if that makes sense. That's why it's at 5. Like, I don't dislike it. I think it's fine. I think it's a good game. I think people should play it. But I don't know, man. It just doesn't click with me like a lot of other Final Fantasy games do, and it does for a lot of other fans.
No, I think that's valid. It's it's funny that you mentioned that, because that's kind of the same angle I took with my number 5 as well, in that I don't think it's a bad game at all. I just over time kind of realized that it really wasn't my thing. And so you got to kind of take a little bit of this with a grain of salt, because I double checked and I have over 100 hours into this game on Steam. So, I mean, like, I definitely didn't not like it. But that game is Warframe. This should be my thing. It really, really should. It's a third person, like, action shooter with space cyborg ninjas and guns, and it's kind of like set up a bit like a roguelike in how the levels are structured, or at least it was back when I was playing. I know they added a ton of shit since then, but it really should be. Like, this should be something that I should probably still be playing today. And I just had to drop it. And after, like I said, about almost 102 hours, I realized I was kind of forcing myself to play it because of the idea of what I wanted it to be and not what it is. And really the thing that put me off, and it's never going to change because it's, unless they completely overhaul it, because it is a very core part of the game, it is the necessity to have to use different warframes. So without going into a lot of detail, like if you don't know what that is, basically it's your character. Like you pick a mech basically, and each one has a very different play style, strengths, weaknesses, etc. And of course you have to upgrade them all separately, but your overall account has a level, and you can only increase that account level by leveling multiple warframes. I don't like that. I know why. Well, cynically, you could say it's because they want you to force to, level more things and therefore potentially spend more money on microtransactions. But the other part of it is, okay, so you're forcing people to be able to experiment with other gameplay styles and branch out a bit, and great, but I don't want to do that. I'm the kind of player that, like, when I find a character or a build that works, that I like, that I want to play, I'm just going to stick with it. And that's what I did with this. And then very quickly realized that I was never going to progress because I wasn't using other warframes that I didn't want to use. So it's kind of a bummer because, like, literally everything else about that game, again, this was like friggin' like 10 years ago, maybe not quite that long, but a long time ago. So there has been so much more that's added and changed the game, but at least back then, if it wasn't for that like core mechanic of the game, it would be so my jam. Like it's super fun to play. It's one of the most fluid third person like action shooters I think I've ever played outside of maybe like Bayonetta. Like it's that good. It's just, I can't get over that like forced swapping thing. It just kills it for me.
Ugh. That sounds tragic. That sounds like you're torn. That's terrible.
I am. It sucks. Cause like I said, it's a really good game, but man, I don't want to do that.
Number 4.
My number 4 is a Wii game that I don't think many people remember anymore, but it was super fucking cool at the time. I think it was a Platinum Games joint. And that is Mad World.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. This game looks super cool. The hook is super cool, where it's this black and white comic book atmosphere that is not black and white when you're murdering people, because then it gets very bloody, and that's kind of the thing. It's supposed to be a lot of ultra violence. It's supposed to be comically over the top, gritty, violent acts that like just some sort of like violent, ultra violent fetish fantasy. Like a Clockwork Orange times 1000, just throwing people into like gears and wood chippers and desecrating bodies left and right. And you know what? I'm not gonna lie, that's kind of my jam in video games. Like I like that. I think there's an appeal there. It's like that's what video games are for: escapism and doing stupid shit. And I was bored most of that game. Like it didn't feel fun to me. And I remember reading all the reviews, and I remember a lot of the perspective that a lot of other people were saying, like, oh, I'm having such a great time. This is a really good game. It's kind of a societal satire in a way. And I think those are all applicable, but I was thinking to myself, like, this is just, it's either stupidly difficult because it's a platinum game, sure, but then that kind of goes with the territory for that kind of game. But it was also, it didn't find it very fun. I just didn't find it fun. It reminds me of a game that I don't know if you remember this game, Shane, but a State of Anarchy for the PlayStation 2.
Oh yeah.
I think that's the name of the game. It's kind of the same thing. It's just, it's shock value. It felt like it was shock value for the sake of shock value, where we're just like, after a while, it just becomes, okay, what else are you going to show me? and it didn't really have anything to offer beyond that for me. And I was just like, I don't care to play this anymore. So I think I put it down after a few hours. I have never returned to it since. And that really upsets me because I feel like this is a game I really should have enjoyed because I love the art style. I love the concept. I love, I don't care. I'll admit it. I don't hate wiggle physics. I can get behind that. It's not going to be enough to distract me from playing a video game. I should have loved this game. I just don't. It's just bored me to tears. It's like, whatever. Like this means nothing to me.
Yeah, that sucks, especially when you're expecting the exact opposite. Like when it's billing itself as like this ultra action-packed thing, like to be bored is probably the worst outcome.
Yes. Incredibly bored. Over the top action, and I'm falling asleep. I don't know, whatever.
You should just play Condemned. It's that but better.
We will be.
Yeah. All right. My number 4. Again, this man, okay. Maybe I should give this another shot. I don't know. I probably won't because I've got too many other things going on. But my number 4 is Alien Isolation. I feel like I'm going to get hate for this.
Yeah. No, I've heard this from a lot of people. Go on.
Oh, well, that's good, I guess.
Yeah.
I mean, in theory, what is not to like, right? Like it's the Alien franchise, it's survival horror, it's space, like it kind of ticks a lot of boxes. Like, I mean, one of my favorite horror movies of all time is Event Horizon. So, I mean, it's right in that fucking wheelhouse. And, nope. I played for like an hour or two and I couldn't, like, I just fell right off. And in retrospect, the reason that I didn't continue playing it is I came to the realization that which sounds fucking obvious when you say it, but the core gameplay loop is just hiding from something that's following you. And I hate that in a game. Like, as much as I like Amnesia, there are long sections of a couple of the Amnesia games where that is what you are doing. The entire conceit is run long enough that until you start to catch the attention of the bad thing and then hide and hope you don't get murdered, because that whole I don't want to go off on this like long pontification, but I feel like that entire premise is flawed. Okay. I feel like it's flawed for a horror game because the moment that tension breaks and you get attacked and die and then have to reload and play that same section over again, the tension and horror is gone, completely gone. And then it's just rote, like repeating steps. And it's like aggravating at worst. Like I just think the whole concept is flawed. And so when a game is almost entirely based around that exact thing, it's kind of not surprising that I kind of ended up bouncing off of it, which is a shame because, I mean, it's a very well-produced game. By all accounts, it was well-received. Should have been something that I really liked, but just, I don't know, just I couldn't do it.
Yeah, that's not a take that I think is unique to you. I've heard that from actually quite a few people that the hype was there and they went to play it and it was just like, this was not... Like at some point it becomes a game where you're like, this is not what I expected. It kind of betrays you.
Yeah. Or it's just like, maybe, I don't know. Maybe I didn't go into it far enough, but I just feel like it didn't do enough different, or it should have been a much shorter game. Like one of the two. I don't know.
Shorter games are better games. Just saying.
Yeah. A lot of cases that is true.
Well-made shorter games. Well-made shorter games.
Yeah.
I should say.
Number 3.
All right, back to the hot takes. So for my next one, it's going to be Disco Elysium. I am a political science major, which actually means absolutely nothing. But I had taken courses in that and graduated not to long before I played this game. Into political theory, and this game is rife with political theory. So if you like political theory, then you're probably going, maybe you'll like Disco Elysium. You like good writing because this game has a lot of good writing, and that's the other thing. I love good writing. I love political theory. I love RPGs. These are all things that are present in Disco Elysium. I mean, regardless of what the creators of this game and their political thoughts are, which I'm not I'm not in alignment with, but I think that they did a fantastic job in terms of the writing. What I don't like about this game was more, how do I put this? I was playing the game and having some criticisms of this, some criticisms of the game, and I think these criticisms were shared in some aspects with when we review this in the RHRC chat. Like, hey, why is this role so impossible to do, and this feels like the only way to advance the game, and this doesn't feel very intuitive. And a lot of the issues were, when you express criticism, everyone would just kind of tell you that you're playing it wrong and you should just enjoy it for what it is and shut up. And I was just like, I don't like this. It's okay not to like this, right? It's okay to criticize this. It's okay to be like, this is stupid, and I don't agree with it. And other people are like, well, I think it's great, so it's great. And it's like, I don't think it's great. I actually think this is dumb that a chair can kill you. I don't think this is a great use of design here. But some people dig it, man. Some people really love it. I don't want to take that away from them. But there was one scene in that game where I'm looking at it, and it was one of my favorite scenes. It's at the very end, and I don't want to give anything away because I know people love this. You're finding out a lot of the protagonist's kind of like backgrounds and what's driving their condition. And I think it's a beautiful moment. And there's a lot of the way I played it, there was a lot of gaps to be filled in, where I could fill in the gaps on my own based off my own interpretation of the world, the character, the background, that it didn't implicitly tell me. And I'm like, I can intelligently form what's happening here. It's not bluntly telling me what's happening. At the same time it is, but it's not. And I was like, I appreciate this. This is a beautiful moment. I really enjoy this. And then it gets to the final boss scene, and it's just like, this is stupid. Kind of. I thought it was dumb. But I watched someone else play it, and it was actually Tony G. Shout out to Tony G. I watched him play it. And I watched him because he did more in the game. That same scene was just far more blunt. It laid out everything in explicit detail, where it didn't allow the player to fill in any gaps. And I was watching him play this. I was like, this is horrible. I wish I never saw this. And then someone else was like, well, that's just because they're choices. And because the choices they made, they got all this extra information, and that doesn't make it a flaw. I'm like, actually, I think this is a writing flaw. Oh, you just don't get it. No, I think I do. So I just don't like how it's being presented here. And I think that's the biggest thing that turned me off from Disco Elysium, is just the people that love this game really love this game. And I don't think they like hearing any criticism of it whatsoever. They don't like to hear that, like it just doesn't jive with people. Like it's incomprehensible that people cannot appreciate it for what it is. And there's a lot there that I can be like, I understand this. The writing is impeccable. It's written very, very, very well. If you love straight character RPGs, I think if you don't go into it anticipating any real combat, and you just want to essentially have a straight up visual novel with RPG elements, then if you know that going in, I think you're going to have a decent enough time. I think there's still flaws there, but like it just rubbed me so much the wrong way that I ended up having, I gave the game like a 2 out of 10 in the RHRC chat, because it just became, you're all wrong for not liking this game. I was just like, okay, fuck you. I really don't like this game now. But it has all the elements where I'm just like, I should appreciate this on so many levels. But when I didn't, I felt like I was just spurned or slammed for not seeing it the same way other people did. And that was unfortunate, I think. I don't it was I felt I feel now it's unfortunate because I think people should like get in this game if it sounds like that's for you. I would just recommend that be kinder to people that have criticisms of it because I don't think it is perfect, contrary to popular belief. But yeah, that's my number 3, Disco Elysium.
Yeah, I mean, I can understand that. It's it's funny because now I'm a huge Souls fan, but back in the day, that was part of the reason I stayed away from the original Dark Souls was because of all of the pretentious assholes surrounding it, like unironically saying, "Well, you just got to get good." Like get good is a joke,
Get
right?
good, bro.
It's funny
Yeah.
when we say it, but at the time, like they were 100% serious. Like it was not a joke. And I really despise those people that take that elitist approach to things and are just like, well, you just don't get it then. It's like, okay, well, fuck you. Like,
I
anyway.
wouldn't say it wasn't you don't get it approach. It was more like I mean, it kind of is because I don't want to say it was like it was. I don't call them pretentious. They are members of our community, and I love them. They're awesome. But and that's why I'm not saying their names. But I do feel like it was a lot of well, I love this game, and I don't understand why you don't.
Right.
I think that's a little bit different than just get good. It's like why don't you like obviously like you're not seeing it the way I am, and I feel the same way about Xenogears, but I haven't played that in so long that that's not on my list because that was definitely a thing back in '98 and '99. Where if you said you did not like that game, people were just like, you're too stupid to understand this. I'm like, okay, go fuck yourself. Like, that's not my issue with the game, but like, have a time.
All right. Well, we are heading into the middle here, and I feel like this is a good place for this one because I wasn't sure where I wanted to put it. I don't think it deserves to be higher because the other ones are definitely ones I should have liked a lot more. But then again, yeah, I don't know. It feels right, which I can't say about the time I spent playing the game. But it's this one is Strife, which came up recently actually in our Discord. So I may actually legitimately give this one another shot because there's also potential for some maybe guest content for me to partake in, I think, if I were to talk about this at some point. But it's the last game that used the ID Tech 1 or id Tech 1 engine, the thing that powers Doom. It's an FPS RPG, so two of the things that I like the most. And also, many folks in retrospect have considered this game to be very much a precursor to Deus Ex, which I very much like. So again, everything points to me really digging this. And I just, man, I think I went into it with the wrong expectations. I think that's what it is. Like I assumed it was going to be a more just straight up boomer shooter, and it's not. It is not that fast paced, I think, because of the RPG elements, the fact that like you have a central like hub town in air quotes, like there are NPCs to talk to, like it's much more RPG than I was expecting, and I think that's what threw me off. And I ended up just like, I remember stopping my playthrough and then not going back when I got to a point where I was just sort of like wandering around areas, not sure what to do next. And I was just like, okay, well, this has lost me and I think I'm good. So, I mean, I should probably give it another go, but the first impression was not a great one. But like I said, that might have been on me. So, who knows?
Number 2.
All right, my number 2. It's another one of those greatest games of all time. In fact, the next two are going to be in that category for many people. But my number 2 is going to be The Last of Us. I don't know. I think I mocked this game. I think I put it. I don't think I mocked it. I think I put it eloquently enough. If you're a patron, you've listened to the rapid fire review back in the day. Why I didn't like it. I I went into this game kind of expecting a mind blowing plot, and decent gameplay. Because I mean, people were they were raving about this game. I played it originally on my PS3. It caused my PS3 to shut down when I made it to a certain point in the game, and I was like, okay, well, this sucks. And then I played it on not the game, just the situation.
Right.
And then I played the remastered version on the PS4. I'm just like, I just can't get with the gameplay. Like it's way more of a stealth game than I thought it was going to be. I get that the survival horror element. I think I was expecting more Resident Evil. And then the plot, which people told me was, I would say people told me, I just heard all over the place that it was like this mind blowing plot. And I was like, it's okay. Like it's like I can get a lot out of this plot. I can explain a lot. I've done it in various Discord servers where I've explained like things I liked about the ending. But when I hear people say I didn't see the ending blew my mind, and I'm just kind of like I didn't get that. I I saw the ending. I'm like, yeah, that makes sense, man. Like I totally understand this. This is a very understandable position. Didn't shock me. I didn't really get as involved with the plot as a lot of people did. And some people are like, well, if you have a kid, it's different. I have two kids. I think I understand the fatherhood aspect, and in this case, that's not it. Maybe that's why the ending didn't exactly shock me. But I I didn't appreciate the gameplay, and I like. We've talked about Metal Gear Solid 1. I love that game. I love Metal Gear Solid 4. I think if I went back and played Metal Gear Solid 2, I'd love it. There's a reason why there's a game missing there. But I think that I should have gotten into this because there's a lot of games that tried to be or are considered to be very cinematic that I love. I love Nier, with its plot. We've talked about that. We're going to be talking about Shadow of the Colossus later. Spoilers. I love that game for what it does in its cinematic elements. The Metal Gear Solid series, for the most part, I absolutely adore it. The Last of Us was a game that I feel like I should have come away from and been like, this game is amazing. And I came away from it. And I was like, meh. I think it's the delta between where this game is considered and how I felt about it, that really is the reason that it's on my number two, because I think this game I should have jived with just so much. I just walked away and I was just like, it's fine. It's fine. What else do you want me to say? It's not like it's a 7.5 out of 10, I guess. But it's not like the ultimate best game ever. And that's just how I felt coming out of it. And I probably should have been more on the 9.5 to 10 scale. So yeah, that's my number two, Last of Us.
Okay, well, now I feel like now we might be getting into some of my spicier takes, perhaps.
Ooh.
This one, I think this one in particular, even though it's not my number one, I feel like the next one, most people are going to be like, I'm sorry, huh? But mostly because they're just like, oh, okay, that's a non-issue. But my number two is Hollow Knight. I just I just don't really like it. I don't, and I should, because it's a Metroidvania with like a dark fantasy like aesthetic. Like on paper, this should be quite literally exactly my shit, and it's just not. And I had to think about like what really threw me off of this game, because I put a decent amount of time into it, actually. And the reason that I just didn't feel the compulsion to continue playing, and that's the thing, man. I feel like at some point, I would say that this is not an uncommon thing, that as you get older, like, if you had, because maybe some of us don't have it to begin with, but if you had that sort of like impulse to be like, nah, man, I gotta soldier through this, I'm gonna finish this game. At some point, you just get to it where you're just like, nah, I don't have it in me to do this. And also I've got like 600 other games that I need to get to. So nah. And that's kind of the
Yeah.
point that I got to with Hollow Knight. And the reason, again, it kind of comes down to like one specific mechanic, but it's so core to the game that it's unavoidable. And that is how they decided to implement the exploration and revealing of the game's map. I really, really don't like how they did that. And if you're not familiar, essentially what you have to do, it's not like a more standard Metroidvania where you just uncover it sort of like room or section by section as you go along. No, you have to find a specific NPC that sells maps to unlock the map for the particular zone that you are in. But until you find that NPC, you are flying fucking blind, completely blind. You are not mapping out that zone you're in at all. And you just kind of have to fumble your way through it until you find the NPC somewhere in that area so that you can purchase that zone's map. And I hate that. Like it's almost antithetical to the Metroidvania like premise. Like, cause for me, it is about this incremental exploration. And you could make the argument, because I can see the parallel of like, well, it's like Dark Souls, man. Cause like, you have to find a bonfire, right, before you can save and go back to like an area. And so there's, that constant like weighing of the pros and cons of like, do I continue forward and risk losing a whole bunch of souls if I die before I find the next bonfire? Or do I like, cut my losses and go back and level up and then try it again, but knowing I'm gonna have to fight through all the bullshit again until I find the next bonfire? I can see the parallel. I'm not going to be able to explain to you why one works for me and one doesn't, but it fucking doesn't. And it might just be that like there isn't a map in Dark Souls, like really at all. And so I didn't have the expectation that I would be able to navigate by one. I would also argue that like the design of Dark Souls is such that you don't need one because everything is very well put together and you can just sort of navigate your way based on the environment. But yeah, I don't like it. I don't like it. I don't like having to fumble around blind until I find one NPC to buy a thing from. And it just feels bad. It feels bad, man. So that's why it's at my number 2.
Pretty spicy.
Yeah, I know. There's a lot of people that like that game.
Number 1.
My number 1, which I kind of alluded to when I was talking about my previous choice, is Metal Gear Solid 3. I did not like Metal Gear Solid 3. I just didn't fucking like it. I did not like the game. You know what? I look back at Metal Gear Solid 2, and I just didn't like that because they put Raiden in there. Now that I'm an adult, I can realize how fucking stupid that was. Because I was trying to be a kid and I was being like, Solid Snake's the best. I don't want to be Raiden. And I didn't even know why I didn't want to be Raiden. Like, there's nothing wrong with Raiden. But like Metal Gear Solid 3, I remember getting this game. I was so hyped for it, man. I think I pre-ordered it because like Metal Gear Solid 1, I love Metal Gear Solid 1. And secretly, I like Metal Gear Solid 2, but I didn't want to tell anybody. And I was like, I was so hyped. Like this is going to be going back to the boss and the background for like what came to be with the Metal Gear Solid universe. And I just played it. I'm like, I know I'm going to sound like a bitch here because I am when it comes to Metal Gear Solid. I miss my little mini map in the top right corner with my cone of vision, and they took that away, and I'm now have to pay attention to the environments and actually stealth. And fuck that. Fuck that. I thought I was going to get more of that, and you can play the game like that, and for some whatever reason that isn't in Metal Gear Solid 4, and I really like Metal Gear Solid 4. So maybe I do need to go back and play Metal Gear Solid 3, but considering the amount of praise this game gets, it's the best in the series, a series that I will praise quite a bit. and tell everyone to play at least Metal Gear Solid 1 and Metal Gear Solid 4. And I really want to give Metal Gear Solid 2 another chance because I know I did not give that game a fair chance. But I didn't like it. I didn't like the plot. I didn't like the story. I didn't like the characters. I didn't like the gameplay. I absolutely liked nothing about it. I was like playing it. I beat the game and I'm just like, why don't I like this? Like, I don't remember anything about it. I remember nothing about it. The only thing I remember is wanting, like, forcing myself to move forward and being like, at some point, I'm going to get the same emotion I got out of the other ones. It's going to happen. I know Hideo Kojima's going to deliver for me. And I got to the end. I'm like, this is fucking it. No, like, I don't, there's something wrong with me. That's what's up. There's something wrong with me. That's what's happening right now. This is a me problem. But I was just I couldn't get into it. And I still hear people say it's like the best game, and they say like a snake eater, and like, no, I don't get it. I don't get it. And I fully will accept a me problem on this one. And probably, you know what? This entire list might just be a me problem. But this one is probably especially a me problem. This is the one I just 100% cannot comprehend why I did not enjoy a single moment of playing it. Not a single moment. So yeah, Metal Gear Solid 3 is my number one.
I mean, at least you got through the whole thing, I guess. I mean, I really
wanted to like it.
Enjoy it the entire time.
I really wanted to like it. I really did.
See, that's what I was talking about, man. You're like, I gotta push myself through it. I'm like, nah, man, ain't nobody got time for that. All right, my number one is probably not as controversial, I don't think, because I literally have never heard anybody talk about this at all. But mine is actually Legend of Grimrock 2. I have talked about this with at least a couple of people on Discord in our community over the years, and there's, in theory, there's still a potential episode in the works with me as a guest on this game in particular, actually, but it's been put off a few times, and to be fair, that's mostly my fault. But we'll get there eventually. But the reason it's my number one is because I liked the first game so much. Like, Legend of Grimrock is fucking fantastic. It is basically exactly what I want from a first-person dungeon crawler. It is the perfect balance of like old school sort of vibe and sensibility, but with more modern like accessibility and quality of life. Like, and that's exactly what I want, because I love me a good first-person dungeon crawler. I really do. It's part of the reason why I didn't even know this was a thing until I started playing it, but I was very pleasantly surprised when we did our Phantasy Star episode, and I was like, holy shit, the dungeons are in first person. This is great. And so I really, really like that style of game. I do. That's also maybe some foreshadowing for a game we're going to be talking about real soon. But this just, man, I fell off this one hard, really hard. It was a while ago now, so I want to say I maybe put a couple hours at most into this game. And the reason that I just dropped it like a rock was because it felt like it was getting over ambitious. And by that, I mean the entirety of the original Legend of Grimrock takes place within essentially like a tower. It's either a tower or a dungeon that goes below the earth. Either way, it be a tall thing, and it's all pretty contained, right? It is very, very much exactly a dungeon crawler. And this one branches out, and you have a lot of very wide open topside outside space.
No.
That I just really don't like.
No.
Yeah, it feels weird. Like when the whole conceit is, oh, I move one, cell or square at a time in first person, and then you have this big open space that you have to traverse with no like discernible like hallways or anything. It just doesn't gel, man. And I'm gonna give it another shot. I said I was going to, and that's part of why it's at my number 1 too, because I think it's one of those ones that I think it genuinely deserves another chance from me. But that was the thing that I was just like, oh no, I don't want to do this. And I'll try it again. Maybe I feel different about it the second time around, but I feel like it lost a lot of the charm and the atmosphere that made the first game so good. So I guess that remains to be seen, but that's my number 1.
Dungeon crawlers should not have open fields.
I tend to agree. I mean, I know even some of the older school ones kind of did that, where you'd go through like towns and be outdoors and things. But to be fair, I didn't really like it then either. So I don't know.
I can understand towns.
Yeah. But yeah, just having open air areas just feels wrong for a first person dungeon crawler.
Maybe I should go back and revisit Shining the Holy Ark. Then I think there's some of that anyway. But that's our list. That's how much you hate us for
all 2 Legend of Grimrock 2 super fans out there.
Yeah. Don't worry, I brought them in with the Disco Elysium hate.
Ah, yeah, there you go.
Yeah. All right. So, Shane, why don't you let people know where they can re-find us, I guess. Not because they have found us.
Yeah, I mean, if you want to tell us how bad and wrong we are about our choices, you can do that. I mean, you could probably do that anywhere. I can't guarantee that we'll see it. That's probably for the best. But if you just really want us to know, then I mean, you can come to the Discord, because that's generally where we are. So you can find that. And also our other socials. I mean, if you tag us, we'll probably see it. We get notifications. We have that. But that and all the other stuff, our YouTube, Twitch, merch store, Patreon, if you'd like to support the show in that way, is all in one spot. And we did that just for you. So just head on over to our link tree. That is linktr.ee/retrohangover. And, tippy tappy on the button of your choice. I feel like I shouldn't even say click anymore, because nobody does that. It's all the tap.
And watch our stuff on Twitch.
Yeah.
Or YouTube. I'm not your dad. I don't care. Just watch us there. You can talk about the people that you call daddy. That's fine.
Yeah, sure.
I won't judge you.
Adam's talked about Zangief before.
He has. He's called me Zangief before, too. I used to be called daddy. I miss those days. Such better days. Before I retired from the military and started just growing a gut out of nowhere, despite not changing my diet habits and working out more. Fuck you, world. Fuck you, 40. Anyway, that's not a personal begrudgment.
Yeah, we're definitely not old and bitter.
Yeah, come on Twitch and call me an old hairy fat man at 9 p.m. Eastern times on Sunday.
Slowly but surely becoming Carl, which is what I always wanted to be.
Yeah, I'm there. I'm getting there. It's horrible.
Oh, man. All right. Well, I suppose on that definitely not depressing note at all, until the next flight.
Play with your... I am getting the Dunlap disease, which is when your stomach Dunlap over your belt. Joysticks. Bye, everybody.